The MoneroTopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exolix, a privacy-focused, non-custodial instant crypto exchange. Go to exolix.com to enjoy secure and completely anonymous swaps with no KYC or sign-up. Swap between Monero and 2,000 plus assets at the most competitive rates and with no limits. Exolix.com, your fast and secure way to privacy.
GM, body.
Hello.
Morning. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Just chilling, just watching this price action. I guess it decided
Crazy.
to take off this morning.
I am curious if you have any more insight into like I'm thinking like maybe if there's potentially some more like attempted swapping going on, or if it really is just going up because of the speculation due to recent events.
There's also some old like Silk Road related Bitcoin. That
Silk
moved, right?
Roids, yeah, man, get in the gym. Sorry, say that again. I missed it. Silk what? Silk Road what?
There's some old Silk Road, Silk Roads, Bitcoin that recently moved.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's that.
I don't know why I'm struggling with that right now.
Doug's got gym fever.
Yeah. You're waiting on that dark.
No roids here, but I did hit a new local high on my bench press yesterday.
Nice. Right on.
I seem to be going up with Monero.
With the Monero price.
I'm trying to get 3
Fueling your
plates.
workouts.
Trying to get 3 plates by 1,000. That before Monero hits 1,000. That's my goal.
It's a admirable goal, man. 3 plates is no joke.
No, but the Silk Road, the Bitcoins that recently moved. I don't know if anybody has had their eye on that, but I don't know. Are those moving into Monero?
I don't know. Probably. I'm sure that chain analysis is monitoring the situation.
Keeping it under control.
Yep.
And then that hack that we had seen a couple of weeks ago, are there still, are those coins moving anymore? Because that was only a few $1 million, right? That basically.
Well, he split them up into like tiny little maybe not tiny, but like he split them up into a bunch of different addresses, started swapping. I think he consumed all the liquidity that he could, and until they basically decided, hey, which coins are still his, and tried to shut that down as much as they could. But I don't believe this guy moved $330 million into Monero. That doesn't make any sense to me. He probably moved like maybe 15, 20, maybe 30 million into Monero, but not like
right.
Not
and chain analysis would have a very good eye on that, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, he's probably still trying to do like obfuscation stuff and move more coins around and swap where he can, swap where he can avoid getting caught. But yeah, I mean, he's probably still moving coins, and even if not, he's cleaned out the liquidity to a significant degree. So there's no more sell orders on the book. So when you have this situation where we were already low liquidity, the sell side was already like pretty limited. Like even before this hack, the chart speaks for itself in a lot of ways. And we saw MEXC was running out of coins, and we saw these other exchanges were running out of coins and shutting down their withdrawals. There's only one thing that can happen if there's extra demand. So you have this hack, you have the attention that happened as a result of that hack, and there's really only one thing that price can do, right? It has to respond towards the upside. So we're finally seeing real market dynamics shine through now that basically all of the fake Monero that can be sold has already been dumped on the market. So they've already done all their fractional reserve naked short selling that they could do. So the price has to respond. If we have demand, it's going to respond. So that's what's happening here.
We shall see. We shall see. Certainly exciting to watch the price go up a little bit. It's rare in Monero, right? We're so used to being beaten down. Then the entire market moves and Monero just gets ignored. But it seems like Monero is now part of the mix in terms of the general broader crypto pump.
I mean, I got into it towards the tail end of what was it? Was it 2021 or no, it was 2022 even. It sort of pumped a little more again. I got in at the tail end of that. And since then, I hadn't seen like basically any meaningful price movement. So I was like, oh, it's just here to stay. and suddenly, like out of nowhere, it's just kind of started reaching up really high again. So it's been years. So we knew it's going to happen at some point, but it's surprising when it finally does, when we're used to seeing it at a certain place for so long.
I mean, the entire market is pumping, right? So like, right?
It is.
I guess,
but
right.
The degree
I
is
guess
just
like
not comparable.
A few weeks ago, Monero was kind of leading the market, right, buddy? I guess you can let us know, but it feels like a few weeks ago Monero was leading, and now it's kind of like, as much as it feels like it's going up, it's kind of trailing the market in terms of other cryptos. Like, right, you're seeing these other. It seems like it's a real, shitcoin pump that's happening right now.
It's only competing with Doge right now in terms of.
Like Pepe is up 50% over the last 7 days, right? Like there's all these. Ethereum obviously is pumping. Monero's kind of actually pretty low on the list in terms of how much it's pumped relative to other coins this week.
Well, if we're taking into account like the meme coins, the shit coins, I mean, yeah, obviously those things have like insane amounts of like up and down movement, but compared to the big main ones, it's still holding its ground pretty well.
It would be nice to see things level out. Bitcoin like levels out at 100K or something. The shit coins like start to come down, and Monero continues to climb up against everything. That would be a nice moment.
Well, objectively speaking, it is holding its own versus the total crypto market cap. So against Bitcoin, against everything else, we could maybe look at. So this is XMR.D, so that's against the entire crypto market. But we could also look at maybe the XMR market cap just relative to shitcoins. So total 2. Yes, that implies me calling ETH a shitcoin. That's not a very lovely chart, is it? Maybe I did something wrong there. I had to have done something wrong. Oh, yeah, that's the wrong XMR. You have to actually type crypto cap. Dang it, I can't type this.
Looks like we got some XMR chats coming in too.
Please.
Mr. Wonderful tip 50 cents. The thing most people get wrong about the upcoming EU crypto regulations is it only makes it harder for custodians to hold XMR for other people. Right, that's the real crux of the regulation. It's not making it illegal for you to run your own software, to use Cake Wallet, to use the client, but it's making it harder for these services that are custodians of Monero. The EU basically helps us with pushing self-custody, unknowingly probably. Businesses can still accept Monero, right? So everybody can still use it.
This is kind of what I thought, based on what I read initially, which means that wouldn't necessarily be blocking the sale of it directly.
No, but it would. But a centralized exchange can't hold. Monero, right?
Which, like he's saying, that's like actually better. Like we're forcing people into
like, which is what we were saying. I mean, it could
any fractional reserving if there's nothing to fractionally reserve. If they have to give it up once they buy it, like they're ironically like putting Monero in this really powerful position where it can't be fucked with as easily.
That and we keep the speculators out. Like there's a lot of component of market cap of these cryptos that's just entirely speculation. And that's not really good. Like you really do. Like if you want to claim to be a currency, you want to have a price that's based on actual demand, actual usage for real economic reasons, not just for speculation purposes. And so keeping that speculative component out actually prevents our price from rising maybe too fast. Because remember, like the fuckery can happen not just on the way down with fractional reserve, but it can happen on the way up too, where people are like suddenly piling in. And then the people that are running these exchanges and their liquidity providers front run all of the people trying to get into Monero. And so you get these price movements that are like 2, 5, 10x what they actually should be.
Mr. Wonderland finishing his comment. But yes, I agree. DFX Swiss could be in trouble with these regulations. Maybe they can outsource their services to Great Britain. Yeah, we'll have to see what DFX does.
Yeah, it's interesting. The European Union is they just want to ban all cryptos. They started
and maybe things change there politically too.
They're
over
coming
the next
for
couple
Bitcoin
of years,
way.
right? In Europe, maybe things start to swing back once they realize that it's like they're falling behind the times, right? It's a pretty big step in the wrong direction in terms of the evolution of humanity for Europe to kind of like take a step back and be like, we're not gonna go down the route that achieves max liberty. So that might start to switch and move back the other way.
It suddenly occurs to me that we may have missed the opportunity for Papa Coin. There's a new Pope.
Yeah,
It's got to be a coin for the Pope now somewhere out there.
Make an NFT on Tari.
Oh shit! The first NFT on Tari would be Papa Coin.
I may have gotten the first Tari transaction. I tried mining Tari. I don't know. Did you guys try? I haven't gotten anything, and I've been running I've been running it.
It's very buggy. There's some problems with
Yeah.
the software that even if you are actually mining, you don't have a proper connection to P2Pool, so you don't end up getting any rewards. It's pretty stupid. But I managed to actually get some rewards after restarting the app several times and making sure that the connection was good.
It's a Tor thing, right?
It is using Tor, yeah.
Which is cool. Yeah, it's pretty slick. I mean, the way the client is, super easy to get up and running. And then you're running a Monero, you're running a Tari full node. It's running the Monero miner.
I just meant to say that because it's on Tor, you can get these connection issues where, like, I don't know how much you've used Tor, but anyone that's used it a lot knows that sometimes your connection just drops out for like no reason, and maybe it'll come back in a few seconds, or maybe it'll come back in like a minute, or maybe you have to refresh or something like that. So
so maybe that's what like the technical issue is that they're facing. Yeah, because it has been buggy for me as well. I haven't gotten any, but I did get 0.69 of Tari sent to me, and it was the night before I interviewed Fluffy and Naveen, and actually at that time was probably when you were able to send the first Tari transactions, because when people first started mining it, it was locked up for 24 hours, so you couldn't even send it for 24 hours, which is
I have a lot now that's actually available.
Which is effectively when the 0.69 was sent to me, so it's kind of funny. I may have in fact been one of the most early Tari transactions.
Let's get a market started for Tari. Who wants to sell me some Tari? I'll sell you some shit coins. Maybe
we did see a listing on XMR Bazaar. Somebody looking to buy Tari for Monero.
Oh shit!
They set it at some price.
What was the price they set it at? It's probably pretty low because I
don't know. Pull it up.
Tokenomics for Tari are interesting. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I am glad to see. So I would like to balance, because I'm obviously going to have some criticism here, but I would like to balance that by saying that I am glad that they pivoted towards. It sounded like on the interview you did with Fluffy that they can do basically any contracts. They can do pretty much anything that ETH or Sol can do. Maybe they're not. Yes. I don't know if they're Turing complete. I didn't really hear that phrase thrown out there. Maybe they're just trying to avoid the consternation of such a terminology, but. It does sound like they pivoted to expanding the scope of what it can do, so that's cool.
Yeah, and it's cool that they really embraced the merge mining with Monero in such a way that it's default, happening with everybody seamlessly using P2Pool, and that's something that was not. This is where I feel like I missed. There's a couple of things. Obviously, I need a separate interview with just Fluffy, with just Ricardo. I only had so much time. But yeah, I regret not asking him that thought too, because when Tari was first being described as a concept that he was going to go work on, I think Ricardo was like opposed to RandomX at that time. Like he wasn't even pro RandomX.
Yeah, he was actually. I was happy to see that over the years, because it took him a while. It took him like 3 or 4 years.
Right, so I'm saying that, but now that's such a big part of. That's such a big part of what Tari is. It's literally their value proposition off the bat. It's like, oh, we're the easiest crypto to mine in a click because it uses this thing called RandomX that you can run on any computer. Initially, Fluffy was against that concept at the time of when I believe that's when he was already pitching Tari as a project he wanted to work on. So I find that interesting that it became kind of one of the core values of Tari itself. I don't know.
Yeah.
I follow these things closely, obviously, but then, like I mean, what's your analysis of that body?
I would have liked to have seen them done 100% random X. They're doing the ASICs thing, and that's I can't remember the numbers they said exactly. Is it 60% or 50% merge mined with Monero, and then the other part is
50%,
ASICs?
yeah.
50%. Yeah, so that's still kind of like, okay, well, who are the guys with the ASICs and that particular algorithm? Like, who is, because they already had the 30% pre-mine. Isn't that enough special interest, right? Why do we need to do another 50% ASICs?
Yeah, I didn't really ask him. Yeah, and so these ASICs are what? They're unique to Tari's proof of work. They're not. It's not Bitcoin ASICs.
I don't
right?
remember which. No, they're not Bitcoin ASICs. I don't remember which algorithm was it. Maybe it was SHA-3. Did he say it was SHA? No, that's probably wrong.
No,
but I mean,
it is SHA-3.
SHA-3. Okay.
Yeah, because when I actually look I didn't look it up, but in the wallet software, it shows random X and SHA-3 under one of the settings and showing me the height for those.
Are there any other coins doing SHA-3?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Let's go to AI. Let's go to our handy dandy.
Yeah, who has all these?
Today.
Are these like is Bitmain creating these? No.
I mean, it's got to be like a pretty easy pivot from SHA-2. Let's see. All right, we've got Claude searching the internet right now for SHA-3 mining. I bet you there's got to be one, right?
Bitmain did participate in MoneroTopia last year.
MaxCoin uses SHA-3. Okay. Also known as Kekak. Okay, that's kind of, I don't know, that sounds kind of dirty. I don't know why, but SHA-3, also called KECCAK, Kekak. MaxCoin, Smart Cash, and 0x Bitcoin. So I guess not really that many. I see what's going on here. There's this weird interplay between Fluffy Pony and Max Kaiser. Is that what it is? There's some deep conspiracy.
Oh,
here
it is Max Coin. Max Coin is the Max Kaiser coin.
Yeah, is it Max?
Oh, that is
unless
interesting.
It's a different Max coin. Maybe it's a different Max coin.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Max Kaiser's definitely a big investor in Tari.
He's got all these old ASICs. So he paid off Fluffy Pony so that he could repurpose these ASICs from 10 years ago.
Is he listed as one of the I mean, they have a long list of investors.
No, man, I'm just playing. I'm not making it actual.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
No. Like that's from 10 years ago, Max. Does Max Coin still is it still a thing?
Well, no. The reason why I say I wouldn't be surprised because Max Kaiser, he was a fan of Monero. He's a fan of Fluffy. He had Fluffy on his he had a big interview with Fluffy and getting the word out about Monero back in the day.
What happened to that guy? I've never made up my mind on what actually happened to that dude. Fucking Max Kaiser. This rose tinted glasses at the 2021 Bitcoin.
What do you mean?
conference.
What happened to him? He got greed, man. He's
Yeah, but he's already rich enough. Like he was already a multimillionaire probably before any of this happened, and now
yeah. But some people are controlled by fucking they have that gene. They're just fucking greed psychopaths. That's
I guess so,
I think I think this is what he is.
It's a huge mistake to think that everyone else thinks in the same way that you do, but it's still sometimes hard to relate to that mentality.
Yeah, I mean, look at Sailor. There's quite a few of these characters. Look at the traditional financial system, the people that run it. Max is closer to one of those than a cypherpunk.
Yeah. Well, he used to be on RT and he used to say some stuff that sounded, I don't know, freedomy.
Yeah, he liked me. I interviewed him about Monero, off the cuff, live.
I remember that.
Super shitty quality, but as usual, it was a real Monero talk. But he said some he basically said maybe Monero will be important if we need fungibility, right? And obviously we do need a crypto that's fungible.
Maybe you need a Monero.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Someone that Sailor ever even said that. To think about that he ever said that. It's too good. Maybe you need one.
You just might need a Monero.
I don't think maybe they hadn't refined his script sufficiently at that point. He was still kind of just going off the cuff. And they're like, whoa. And bro, come to the back room and we need to have a chat.
Yeah, you think it's that bad?
No, I don't know, man. I have no idea what's going on there. Greed is often sufficient to propel the motivations that the
He's just
Illuminati's.
another greedy guy who figured out how to play the Bitcoin ecosystem.
I mean, let's rewind back though to the .com boom. He was one of like the worst losers of the .com boom. Had all this shit thrown at him. Like it's a wonder he didn't ever go to jail. So you got to wonder, how did this guy stay out of prison? How did he not get prosecuted?
He's a master
at
riding large waves, right? Riding the financial system. He did it.
I don't know if he's how much of a master he was, because he wiped out, right? He crashed.
Well, he wipes out, but he rides a big fucking wave, right? Like,
how did he stay alive? Like, how did his company stay afloat? I mean, I just sit back here and I look at the way that his kind of maybe not flamboyant, but his caricaturization of everything, and I wonder, how did he stay afloat? How did he not go to jail? Is he connected
he's
to
like
the
an
deep
Epstein?
state? We
like
know
an
that
Epstein
the CIA,
character.
yeah. I mean, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that nefarious, with his hands rubbing together, but he's still like, we know that the CIA puts people in positions like judges and CEOs and executives and lead scientists and all this kind of stuff. We know they do that. Like they even advertise that that's what they do. They're like, we need all these kinds of people too, engineers and executives, blah, blah, blah. So we know that they do that. And I just asked the question to myself, could this guy, and the answer is maybe. It wouldn't be crazy.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. Certainly possible.
Lead the Bitcoin sheep astray. Make them focus on price.
I mean, yeah, if you're the CIA, whatever other agencies, and you're working towards trying to co-opt this thing that is here to stay, that's one of the tactics you're going to want to take, is to control as much Bitcoin as you can, right? And what better way to do that than start a private company that is built literally just for hoarding Bitcoin? And then eventually, guess what happens? All those Bitcoin get confiscated by the U.S. government. Boop. Cleared the table, like we like that. It would be the most effective way to mass confiscate a shit ton of Bitcoin.
Yeah, they probably won't do the confiscation thing though ever, because it's too. They did that back in the day, with during the Great Depression with gold, but it's really hard to think that they're gonna. Their methods are far more sophisticated than that now. It's too in your face to confiscate your shit, so they have to find other ways.
But in some scenario where the company goes in the wrong direction, right? Starts to, I don't know, goes bankrupt or something, or.
Yeah, I suppose could be that actually would be interesting. Yeah, so
yeah.
Goes bankrupt, and then it's not that they confiscate it; they just took receivership. They're just going to appropriately manage the funds on behalf of the victims,
right? And
obviously pay themselves billions of dollars in the process. And maybe they got to sell a little bit of Bitcoin to pay their lawyers, just a little bit.
We got it all figured out. Question is, what are they going to do with Monero, though? How are they going to handle the Monero rise? Right. That's what do you think, Baldy, are the kind of the points of attack in terms of trying to co-opt Monero?
Well, I mean, they did what they could to suppress the price, right? Relatively pump the shit coins, create the narratives that are all contrary to Monero. Try and put the nonsense out into the crypto sphere. They're doing that. They've tried doing that. They're running out of ability to do that. So they've tried to run as much of the legal suppression as they can. They'll probably continue doing that as well. I don't think we'll actually see Monero hardcore delisted in the United States at this point. I don't think they're going to have the political will to make that happen. But after that, I don't know. They're probably just going to try and create as much friction as possible. At some point, they might try to infiltrate the project. They're going to keep trying. Like, we have to understand, they're going to try and put devs into the project. They're going to try and put new people in the project if they can. That doesn't mean reject all new people. Like, Rucknian was a fucking amazing addition to the team, right? When he showed up and started doing the statistical analysis. But yeah, I mean, they're just going to try and keep doing all the tricks that we've seen before. They're going to try and manage Monero like they manage the gold price, where they sort of allow some steam let out, and then they pump relative prices to create psychological effects. They're basically, with Monero, they have to do what I call syncing with resistance. So whenever you're in a losing position, could be chess, could be socially, could be anything, you always sync with resistance, right? You don't just like completely let the bottom fall out, and you don't deny, like, you don't like try to pretend like you're still winning. You kind of concede the ground that you have to, but you firmly plant every foot and you make it as difficult as possible, right? So right now, when it comes to Monero, I think that the deep state and all these motherfuckers are sinking with resistance, right? They're trying to stop it. They're trying to slow it. They know they can't, but they can do everything they can to slow it from happening.
All right. Well, go ahead and take it away with price, and then we'll get Crypto Comic-Con up, because I'm gonna kind of be on and off right now. So yeah, let's move along. We're already an hour in. All my fault, by the way. I'm all hyped up watching Monero go up, watching Monero adoption grow. Yeah, buddy, take it away.
How do you guys feel about getting? I think Shortwave Surfer has a XMR chat here. Then we have Daisy Phoenix as well. Why don't we go ahead and cover those real quick?
Yeah, let's bring it up. Shortwave.
All right.
Oh.
One more from this guy first.
Oh, okay.
All right, Mr. Shortwave Surfer, 2009, tip 25 cents. He says, Monero at $310 is fake news. It's $211 based on the 182-day, 6-month moving average.
Okay, Shortwave. Okay, we get it.
I love that. That's like Shortwave's thing. He's keeping us all honest around here. Mr. Wonderland tip 25 cents. I still think it's good for XMR to be listed from every exchange. Being listed on major sexes brings in too many number go up people and make XMR more volatile. Also, it removes some of the pressure to build out our decentralized systems and make them more user friendly. Yeah, certainly arguments to be made for that. But price going up, like we were saying, all these things, it gives the ecosystem more capital, right? All the OGs, all the people that want to help build Monero now have more capital, more resources, and there's more liquidity in the system, which allows us to be more impactful with how we use our Monero, right? If I could buy, I could buy cheese with Monero today, but if I could buy land with Monero tomorrow, we're having a much larger effect on opting out. But yeah, there's obviously two sides of the coin there. Daisy Phoenix tip 25 cents. On water not being a human right, if a tyrant could steal all raindrops from all humans for a year, he wins. Let's make mining all XMR for a year be as difficult as that, then we are done.
Interesting.
What do you think of that, buddy? I don't know. Interesting analogy.
I'm trying to process that fully. So are you stealing CPUs, bro? Did you make a deal with TSMC? I'm not following. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, exactly. Like, let's make mining difficult so that they can't steal the raindrops, right? I think that's the idea here. Is it's like, how are you going to steal all the raindrops? I don't know. Maybe you'll like chemtrail the skies or something to do that. Yeah, it's an interesting comment for sure. All right, let's get into price. I do want to comment on a couple of things. So on the super chats. So Mr. Wonderland. I think we kind of mentioned that it's actually for now it's probably a pretty good thing that that Monero is delisted from a lot of exchanges. It has forced us to up our decentralized game, and it's preventing this crazy speculation component to price, and that's pretty good.
Both,
it keeps
Kev.
the volatility.
Do both.
Let's see. XMR chat Kev tip 25 cents. He says, not sure whether to hodl Monero or to use it for transactions now.
Both, my friend. Always both.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? It's like saying, well, I only want to spend private money, but I don't want to save private money. Like, well, if you don't like saving money, bro, you're going to have a difficult future. So definitely use Monero for savings. It's been very good for savings. It's been very good for holding its value. All right, like all cryptocurrencies and all volatile assets, it does have its periods of pullback during bear markets, an unfortunate effect of speculation. And I think a lot of that was the point of taking over the crypto market and integrating it into the financial system, was to make those volatile speculations something that make it harder to be used for both the savings and currency purposes, right? So, but still, we are in that part of the cycle where you should definitely be using Monero to save and to spend. So don't ever be like the maxis. Spend your Monero, right? Don't just hodl it. Don't just hoard it. Definitely spend it. Let's see. Okay, so shortwave. Yeah, shortwave. Okay, so actually, this one should be addressed for sure. Shortwave has this notion, and it's a very good notion, especially if you're running a business and especially in market profiles of stability. You say, where is the moving average? Where you could choose the 182 day, you could choose the 360 day. It doesn't matter. But the idea is that you're choosing some kind of long-term moving average, and you're saying, okay, if I'm taking in Monero for my business and we're above the moving average, then I'm going to sell some Monero on the assumption that the price is a little bit too high, because moving averages tend to act like price magnets, right? You have this mean reversion. And then you do the reverse. If you take in Monero and you're below the moving average, then you say, okay, I'm just going to hang on to this Monero. It's probably going up. It's probably undervalued. And that way you can create some stability for your business. It's not the most perfect way to do it. But honestly, it's probably one of the best ways to do it. It's simple. It's straightforward, and it generally works. However, when you enter a new market profile, and I think that's kind of where we're at right now, those old moving averages no longer suffice, right? They don't, like, you're going to find, so Shortwave, what you're going to find is that your current moving average down there at 211 is probably now too low. And if you'll notice, so on the Monero chart here, we have the moving average cluster. You can see that in white. And maybe if we will just want to reduce some noise, we can go to XMR USD. And what I'll do is clear this, and then I'll just add the SMA. Shit, I have so many of them now. I don't know which one it is. Probably it's this one. All right, so what we're doing is adding just the moving average clusters, so that we can see what Monero looks like in the sense of moving averages. Let's make the resolution a little bit better on this. There we go. All right, so what you can see, Shortwave, is that the moving average is moving up, but at least the main moving average cluster, right? So these are probably you're using, you said 211, so that would be right here. Dang. I don't want to like get too deep into this, but hell, why not? Let's just add a regular moving average. I don't even know how to find them anymore. Moving average, simple. Here it is. I don't know. Why do they put the simple moving average is like way that far down? That's retarded. Stupid. All right. Anyways, so let's do 182 days as recommended. What the hell? There we go. All right. Sorry about that. 182 days. And then I guess we could put that in. Let's put it in yellow just to make it very obvious. Okay. So, all right. Well, maybe you're right, man. Maybe that 182 moving day average is the 6-month moving average is sufficient there. So that's the guy in yellow right there. So that would be 211, just as you said. Yeah, so maybe this is sensitive enough to actually move with price in a way that's reasonable. Honestly, bro, this area right here, that seems like a fair price, but after the action that we've seen, I don't think this price is, that's not the Monero price anymore, man. It's something above that. Like, because here's why I would say that, bro. Let's go back to our regular XMR USD chart. No. Let's go here. It's simpler. So here's why I would say that, right? We had all of this very long consolidation, right? We had the bull market, and then we had this very long, maybe accumulation phase or bottoming phase or whatever you want to call it, right? And then ever since the bull market started, we've had extra liquidity from the system, right? From the fiat pumped into the system. And then we've had XMR just regularly making, and again, we had the Binance delisting, right? And then we had like all of the European delistings here, et cetera. So what I'm getting, and then we had like this whole macro crash scare for a moment, and then the price came right back. And the whole while, like, we're setting higher lows all the way, and then we're setting this sort of capping action, and then even the macro crash scare couldn't get down very far, and then finally we're like, there's nowhere else to go. Like, there's no other place for price to go. So is 211 the current fair value for Monero? I would say no. Like, maybe we could have said that 6 months ago, right? We could have said, hey, what's that moving average? That's probably the fair price for the meantime. You know, fair price minus the fractional reserve fuckery that happened. But anyway, so the point is that this right here was kind of the capping action, and then there just wasn't enough Monero, and there was too much demand, so it broke out to the top side. Sure, that was mediated in the exact moment, the present moment, by a theft, right? By some dude that stole some money and went into Monero. But this was going to happen eventually. Somebody was going to try to move $10 million into Monero. Somebody was going to try and move some big amounts into Monero, and we were going to see a breakout because the liquidity was being constrained at every single moment, right? There was just no way for price to go down any further. So this is what I mean by like the moving average is a little can lag once you get into a market profile where things are moving, where things are trending. Moving averages are great for when you have a market that's ranging. So anyways, maybe a little bit long way to say that, but so at the moment, yeah, we've got Monero here currently sitting at $326. Decided to pump this morning. Pretty cool. You can see here at the top, these are the moving standard deviations, and that is the absolute longest time frame, or really I should say the absolute highest standard deviation that we could draw for this chart, right? I don't know if that makes sense, right? Because you have moving standard deviations, just like a moving average, 100-day, 1,000-day, 5,000-day, etc. Up here isn't necessarily the longest. It's just the one that is the absolute highest. So I know it's hard to see, but that would be definitely a spot to look for Monero price to try to get to. You know, again, this is TA kind of stuff. This is tea leaves kind of stuff. I can't tell you necessarily sometimes fundamentally why this works. I'm still kind of like, I'm still in this zone where I'm like, all right, it works. These clusters seem to work. Sometimes they work like magic, and I don't totally know why. I have my theories on why that is. But you would also stop and say, well, why would a structure this long, right? Why would this structure matter? Because this structure was formed. I mean, if we go backwards, right, you can see this. This structure was formed by the bull market as things come up. So here we go. We'll just draw this right here. I know it's a little bit laggy. So you can see, right, it's this moving standard deviation that's forming that, right? It goes all the way back to here. You would say, why should that matter? How can, quote unquote, the market know what that standard deviation is? I don't know. I don't know, bros. I just know that it works. So I use it. Okay. Anyways, yeah, we're looking at probably continued positive movement. Probably this person that stole these funds is still trying to get into Monero, and all the extra attention that we now have on Monero as a result, people are buying it, right? When things go up, other people are like, hey, I want to buy that. It went up, so maybe it'll go up some more. Personally, I hate doing that. I hate chasing. I only like to buy stuff that's, you know, blood in the streets kind of stuff. Even if I think it is going to go up some more. Although I'd make an exception for Monero, I will still buy more Monero with shitcoins, obviously, because I don't have a real job. Okay, so we're gonna go probably do something like this, right? We're looking for Monero to get into this zone right there, and then quite possibly beat that zone for a moment and actually tag the underside of the very long-term pleb line here. So if we zoom out, you can see, why did we draw this pleb line like this? Well, it is because we can, right? Because there's this little spot right there, and there's that little spot right there. Yeah, maybe it's kind of dubious, whatever. I don't know. Sorry if it is. We could also draw another one. So if we just want to take this guy, we could also draw another pleb line that looks like, I don't know, we could try and see, this is the problem with pleb lines. We could draw one that looks like this, and it would probably still even be kind of valid. Actually, I had never drawn that one. Interesting. Okay. All right, maybe I'll try and put something together there next week and see if I can show you guys something with this pleb line. For now, we would probably try and make it look like that. This chart's looking really dirty right now, but hopefully your eyeballs can make sense of it all. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, actually. So that line actually did matter. So maybe this line actually drives us higher, right? So maybe effectively Monero price ends up doing this kind of action. Maybe, right? I'm not trying to make a prediction there. I'll have to think about that. I'll take a look at that on my own time and see if I can, I don't know, make sense out of that. Probably it's just tea leaves. Probably I'm just seeing signal where it's pure noise. All right, let's go to the XMR BTC chart because that one's actually kind of nice. We're looking at the weekly here. I mean, it's not as nice as it should be, but it's better than what it was. You know, I noticed something looking at this chart this morning. This W pattern kind of looks like this W pattern, right? This is actually a larger structure. But yeah, you know, maybe they're not. They do actually seem kind of like relatively similar time frames. All right, let's just look at it. From one bottom to the other, that was 53 bars, and from this one, that would be 33 bars. So yeah, it's similar. All right, let's do something retarded. Do you want to do something retarded live on air? I didn't even think about doing this, but let's do it. Let's find the bars pattern. Let's do it. Let's do the fractal analysis. We'll just do the first peak right there. Let's do the fractal analysis. All right, so we got our thing here. We took the pattern. We're gonna squishify it and make it look like everything. You know, make the old pattern, overlay it on the new pattern. This is very dubious, guys. Don't do this at home. You know, only do this with a trained professional because it could lead to severe losses. All right, so the fractal analysis at first glance. Pleb level analysis looks to me like Bitcoin to Monero is going back to 1%, right? 0.01, which is kind of where we left off here before the bull market started in earnest. And then they delisted from Binance and chose a selected Bitcoin to pump greater than all the other coins via BlackRock, via Valkyrie, via Sailor and the government, and all of the status that the maximalist laser eyes love so much. Okay, so yeah, obviously dubious analysis here on the XMR BTC price says that we're going above the 1%. We're going to have 1% of Bitcoin's market cap within, by June 2nd. All right. Congratulations, everyone. June 2nd, we're going to be 1% of Bitcoin's market cap. Quote me on it, post it, etc. No, just kidding. Let's not be too crazy with our price fanaticism. Oh shit, it's too late. It's already taken off. Tux is taking it. It's out of my hands now, bros. Sorry. Okay, let's look at something interesting here as well. XMR market cap divided by total 2. So Doug was propositioning to us that these shitcoins are outperforming Monero. And I say no. I say it only appears that way because you're just looking at the best shitcoins, right? It's like when you're looking at the bad children in class, right? And you're like, this whole class is terrible. Children are terrible. And it's like, well, there's only a few of them really, the bad actors. And so you're seeing the shitcoins that have pumped the most, right? But you're not looking at all the shitcoins. And so when we compare against all the shitcoins, we're actually doing pretty well. Monero is holding its own. Yes, the shitcoins are pumping, but Monero is actually currently pumping with them. So that's pretty cool. Looks like this bull market is going to be composed of Monero leading the way all the way. Because I mean, do you really want to take your hacks and your shitcoins and keep that in a transparent coin? Do you really want to let people know that you bought dick butts? No, you want to transfer that to Monero and keep that
It's been a while since I heard that one.
Yeah, you don't you can't let anyone know you bought dick butts. That's really gay. So they should make you know what, we won't go there. Like we could make any kinds of shitcoins that we want, and maybe we should get on Tari. If you're going to make shitcoins, at least do it with merge mined hash rate, right? Monero merge mined hash rate. Let's look at Monero versus gold, because I mean, when you pump, you want to see how well you're doing. You want to compare your success to everybody else so that you can lord it over them, taunt them with it, obviously. So we can taunt the gold bros, the gold bucks, and say, look how good we're doing relative to gold. This chart, I mean, Wave Magic, would suggest that we got a little bit more firepower here before we come to some kind of capping, maybe potentially resistant spot. But that's 30% above where we are. So either Monero price goes 30% higher, or gold price goes 30% lower, or some combination thereof. But even so, like again, this isn't hard capping resistance. You could end up making a little spike here, so we could go up to like 40%, right? You could get above that. You expect that even if you do spike here, you're not just going to keep going, right? You're going to spike and then take some consolidation time. So, but anyways, this is the resistance zone for gold, Monero versus gold. I don't know how much that matters. Anyone here trading Monero versus gold? Probably we actually do have a number of people trading Monero versus gold. All right, I want to go and tell you guys and show you guys how MEXC is a bad actor. This chart is finally relevant again. How amazing, right? This chart we've had for like months and months and months, even years, and this chart hasn't actually been relevant for us. So yeah, MEXC is the new Binance. Binance delisted Monero, and they needed another way to suppress the price with fractional reserve, and MEXC is the outlet for doing so.
Holy smokes, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, so this is just the absolute like percentage relative to Kraken. And you could see that starting even in March, these guys were like, hey, let's go 1% below Kraken's price. Let's spike down here. Let's not get too crazy with it because we know the Monero bros are fucking watching us and they'll report us if we go too low. Well, now we're going to report on you guys. We're tattletaling on MEXC because they are now minus 5.5%. What the fuck are y'all up to, guys? You're out of liquidity. Is it because you have no Monero, so you shut down withdrawals and then you just diverge the price lower so that people feel like they have to sell Monero on your exchange at a loss because they're afraid they'll never get their Monero, which is exactly the playbook that Binance did. We're watching you. We got our eyes on you, MEXC. Actually, I don't even know who the fuck you are. You're just some kind of shell corporation with other shell corporations for your shell corporations somewhere in Satulus and the rest of those islands. We also saw Poloniex doing some weird stuff, but I don't think anyone cares about Justin Sun anymore. Let's do something. So, okay, this is the absolute divergence in terms of percentage. Let's just make a volume adjustment and say, how much Monero have they been doing at those price divergences? And they've actually been doing quite a lot of volume at negative price divergences, but do we really believe their volume? I don't believe their volume. I think they're full of shit. Anyways, it's an interesting adjustment to make just to see, because it's like, well, if your prices like Poloniex diverge highly negative, but then you have no volume, does anyone care, right? Does it matter? Like if if an exchange in the forest delists Monero, but no one was on the exchange, did anyone hear about it? I don't know. Probably not. So that's kind of Poloniex here. They had a significant price divergence, but they actually didn't run much volume, and their volumes are probably fake anyway. So yeah, interesting chart. This chart is free. You just have to go to Bounty Anarchist on TradingView, and you can see all the charts. Wave Magic is not free. I'm sorry, guys. That's for me. That's my special baby. But my other stuff is usually free. I usually post things. I think I posted the Z-scores. If not, I've been meaning to. Just forgetting. But no one's harassed me for Z-scores. So if you want Z-scores, you'll have to harass me. Or maybe they're already there. I don't know. Whatever. Moving on. Privacy altcoins are doing okay, right? So we're seeing here Pirate Chain is managing to almost get back to its horizontal place where it broke down. So it sat here. So it had its bear market, and then it was bottoming right here. It was bottoming, guys. I totally promise. It's in the checks in the mail. Don't worry about it. And then it broke down some more with the macro crash scare, and now it's trying to just barely get back to that same bottoming place. That's terrible price action, right? Like there's no two ways about that. Like the rest of the crypto market has been taking off. The rest of the crypto market, like Bitcoin is at new all-time highs, and the rest of the crypto market made their bear market lows a year ago, and Pirate Chain is still making new lows here. So, yeah, that's not good, not good at all. But I won't tell you that this chart won't pump some more. It does seem like we might be entering some sort of limited hopium of an alt season. I'm not saying it's real alt season, guys. It's maybe not happening, maybe ever. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Liquidity expansion, we'll see a real alt season, but I don't believe this is real alt season. This is just like appetizer alt season. So yeah, I'm not saying that this chart can't go to the upside, but this is not going to give you your 100x again that you're looking for to get your retirement or whatever. Darrow kind of looks like it's making a bottoming pattern, but is Darrow ever any more irrelevant than it's ever been in the face of Tari having launched and with the claim that they can do all the stuff that ETH and Sol can do? I would really like to hear more about that, to be honest. I would like to know the mechanisms of how you build on Tari. I mean, I guess I could just go read the white paper, but these days, like I'm usually waiting for some smart. So like I put a question out into the ether, and I'm waiting for some smart guy to like be like, actually, and be like, thank you, sir, for your actually. I was actually hoping for that. So a lot of times if I'm like, so for example, like the thing like, are we believing this was a hack, right? I was just challenging, are we sure about this? And waiting for someone to show up and be like, yes, actually, we are sure about this because of these reasons. Like, oh, okay, actually, that sounds like it makes sense. And someone did that, right? Someone came out there, some chick named Tay or whatever came there, and so one of her friends or something, and told me all the reasons why it actually was a hack. So yeah, they convinced me. They kind of yelled at me too, but it's okay. I have to.
No one can give any like better reasons for why it isn't. Some people are saying that, oh, it's like we don't know if it actually happened. We have no idea. We're just trusting Zach XBT. Well, it's like Zach XBT is an OG. He's been around for a long time. He's an incredibly talented investigator, and also it's the only thing that actually makes sense right now due to the way in which Monero was required. The execution of it just goes to show that there was a very short window of time they could do it, because they were getting like screwed up the butt with fees like massively. If they were trying to really get that much Monero, they could have done it easily, not through instant exchanges. So
yeah, they could have acquired their bags slowly. That it would have made no sense for them to take that slippage that they lost like 30%. That, and I mean, so yeah, like, I mean, okay, philosophically in the deepest levels of what is knowledge and epistemologically, how can you know anything, bro? What can you actually know? All right, do we know it was a hack? I guess not, but all right, like, who are you going to believe? Your lying eyes. Like this dude that hadn't like barely touched his Bitcoin for years and years and years suddenly splits it into all of these outputs and then takes 30% slippage. Like, no, that doesn't make no sense.
Look, I would love the idea that it was just someone that really wanted privacy. Okay, like some people are saying, I get it, but it's not realistic in this scenario specifically. And I'm too realistic to be a part of that kind of baseless hype, I guess. But I mean, it is true that it was someone that needed privacy, but it wasn't just some whale that suddenly decided they needed privacy. It was somebody trying to launder money. So
well, he is a whale now, and he did suddenly become a whale, and he did suddenly decide he needed privacy. So wrong on all counts, sir.
You got me.
Yeah. There's one more thought that I had on this guy. Yeah, shit, I don't know. It escapes me. All right. Yeah. It was a hack. It happened. You know, shit happens. Oh, wait. No, this was a boating accident. Getting hacked in Bitcoin, because now, since Bitcoin is so transparent, everybody know when you get pwned, right? So the getting hacked is the new boating accident in Bitcoin.
It was a fake hack.
Exactly.
That's like the 250 IQ theory.
Yep. This is the 34th degree of analysis, obviously. So that's what happened, because you know, the guy just knew he needed privacy, so this is how he did it, and he can deny that he has those Monero funds. That would be the most retarded theory. It would be completely against his own monetary interest. He could, with that much money, you just pay off the IRS anyways and enjoy your hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So, all right, I guess we've dwelt on that one long enough. Let's see, Zcash. Oh, Zcash is trying to make a little pumpy pump. Oh, I wonder if it sounds like, I bet they've been drinking. I bet Zuko's been. That's why he made that commercial, because he's been drinking and he just didn't have any better sense. And then he also hit the smash buy, or maybe they just stopped selling incessantly. I don't know. Anyways, Zcash has made a little pump here. Good for them. What is Zcash going to do in the future? What does the crystal ball say? If Monero keeps pumping and the altcoins keep pumping, then Zcash is going to try to make it to this level right here. They're going to try and make Zcash get to there. This is an amazing shorting opportunity. If you're the kind that's so inclined to do so, wait till Zcash gets to about 55, and then you can go for a short. Probably they're going to, you know, Zcash is really good about trying to like latch on to the to whatever's going on. You know, like if Monero pumps, they're going to try and pump. And, you know, like the kind of nefarious entities behind the whole cabal and all this bullshit, I do think that they do put their focus into Zcash, and they put money into there, and they pump the coin if they need to try and like achieve like social effects. And that's not to say that their privacy is bad. It's good. It's just that everything else about their project makes it untenable. So
yeah, that's where I think a lot of people get wrong. A lot of people attack Zcash on the wrong like angles. Like, I'm not going to attack the project anyway. I don't really care about it that much, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's not private because it's like, you know, made by some company that's got really money. It's like they've got good technology, but the peripheral sense and how Zcash exists is not like, it doesn't compare to Monero. Like, that's where most people don't like the project is like the outside of it directly, and like I guess some people involved, the company that's kind of funded in the dev tax and all that stuff. It's like technology that's got some interesting technology now. If you're going to attack it though, like do it on the sense of like how the project exists, because like the technology standpoint, it's got some good technology. Like that's undeniable. But
yeah, it's kind of the that effect where it's like if something has been around for a long time, it continues, it's likely to be around. So like the Zcash cryptography was kind of like creative new moon math in the times, you know, originally, and it does seem like it had a connection to like intelligence agencies, but so did the internet. So it's like you wouldn't necessarily throw it out because of that. You make a note of it in your head. You're like, hey, this had the IDF and the U.S. Air Force Research Lab and U.S. Naval Research Lab and Amazon and a bunch of other like corporate, large, like deep state corporate entities sort of involved with the creation of some of that cryptography and like the zero coin protocol. So it's kind of like you got this question mark, but you're like, yeah, you know, but the longer that it stays, the longer that it's like out in the open and being reviewed by various researchers and cryptographers, and it continues to be not pwned and show to be generally like good, the more, you know, confidence you say, okay, maybe this actually really is good math. And maybe like, again, think about it, right? Maybe it is such good math, and that's why they made the optional privacy, because they said, well, we still need a heuristics way to track this thing, so let's make the privacy optional, and then make it a corporate coin and, you know, do all this other stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's the implementation, right? It's not just the technology, it's not just the cryptography. The way that you implement it, just as Tuck said, is equally as important. And so that's one of the reasons that we just, you know, kind of like we're not interested in Zcash. It's just we're not interested in corporate coins. Okay. Let's look at Z-scores. It's already here. So Monero in burnt red. I guess that should be burnt orange. I don't know, but Bitcoin is also orange. Maybe I could just burn the orange more for Monero. Whatever. It's in red. We're just going to keep it there. Monero doing good, right? We're at about 4 standard deviations on the 100-day moving standard deviations. We're about 4 standard deviations higher than what you would expect for 100-day. What does that mean? 4 standard deviations is like some 0.000 chances, right? That's not how to interpret this. It just means that for that time frame, we're that far above, right? It just means that it's a significant event. That's all that this means. Once you start getting like above 2 standard deviations, you start saying, hey, this is a significant event, that's more than just chance. And that's kind of like coins are starting to ride on the edge of that, right? So we've got, I guess, looks like Bcash and Tron still pulling it out there, right? I guess they got the US Tether for relevance. Bitcoin pumping, and what's the one in purple here? Binance Chain. Does anyone still use Binance Chain? Everyone's on Sol. Whatever. I don't know. Anyways, you can see everything's pumping, right? Like you got all the shit coins here. Everything's kind of pumping in unison. Who's lagging? Who is that guy? Is that FTT? Yeah, oh shit, man. Guys, there's going to be some opportunity with this FTT token. I don't know if you're inclined to paying attention to court cases and whatnot. At some point, like they'll probably, I don't know, they'll pay people back, or did they already pay people back? I really got to pay attention to that. But FTT token is still in the game, and there's going to be opportunities for that thing to pump. I'm not saying buy it right now, though, but if it's lagging behind and everything's pumping, and then some good news comes out in a legal sense, you could make some money on that one. Anyways, Monero still leading the pack. Like Doug noticed earlier today, Monero pumped first. A couple weeks ago, led the pack. This looks like more of a pullback than it really is, right? It's just that when you pump that high and then you hold you hold your price, your moving average starts catching up, and so the z-scores end up looking like you have a pullback when that's not actually a pullback, or it's like a very minor pullback. So anyways, yeah, prices, Monero still leading the pack in terms of like who's performing relatively well. Effectively for the past, like, I don't know, a few days, Monero's pumping about the same as everything else ish. So yeah, that's cool. Let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually decided to pump more than the rest of the markets and post haste get to its spots, even though like the stock market was still kind of lagging behind. I raise an eyebrow at this. Again, it's just like, this is not based, like, this isn't based on consumer demand. This is based on insiders. Okay. Like this price at this point, you have to regard Bitcoin's price as effectively being, like, primarily some sort of incestuous deep state corporate cabal, crypto exchange miners, all of the like nasty mixed in together. Like, what do they want price to do, right? Because these are the guys like, and yes, when plebs are getting into Bitcoin and people are buying Bitcoin, then yes, then that price is also going to go up. That's also a factor. I'm not saying it's, completely controlled. It's all the Illuminati, bro. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, it didn't really make sense for Bitcoin necessarily to post haste, get to this level. Although we were expecting it, right? I did say, hey, this 100,000 level, this like 101,000 level, that's not a bad spot for a short. Did I get short? No, I'm not super inclined to shorting. But this is resistance right here. Actually, someone says, Bowdy, what is the next major resistance with BTC? This is it, right? This is the next major resistance when it comes to BTC. It's going to be difficult for me to think that things are going straight to the top side here. That wouldn't make any sense. That's not how this price action should unfold. It can do that, right? I mean, it could do whatever the hell it wants. Like, Bitcoin doesn't have to listen to my freaking lines on a chart. But typically speaking, like, this is the spot that you expect. Hey, it might do something like this, hold above these lines. It at least needs to do something like this for a period of time, and then maybe it can do that. But yeah, we're really not looking for Bitcoin to make big, fantastic new gains. Your risk to reward here on Bitcoin isn't so great either. It looks a lot to me like I said, we've got a little mini alt season here, probably.
About to say, it's seeing all the altcoins pump while Bitcoin has this really heavy resistance is making me think that maybe altcoin season's finally on, guys. Maybe it's finally on.
Is there a way to say alt season that's like a shorter, like an alt episode? Yeah.
Alt
we're about to have an episode of altcoins. You might need to go get that checked out. But yeah, it looks like okay, so we've got our lines here. We got our pleb lines. We got our channel. Things tried to get above that channel, and now it sort of like quickly fell back down in there. We really are probably looking for the opportunity to pivot into altcoins. And here's why too. Like, think about it. The whole macro crash scare happened, and like there was a lot of people talking about it. Everybody was scared of it. And then we had Liberation Day, and then Liberation Day got walked back significantly. It got delayed. We're delaying Liberation Day, guys. And we're still like, we haven't even hit that quite halfway point until we have to revisit whether liberation is going to be fully liberating or not. And so in that interim time, like, stocks are recovering and crypto's recovering, and everyone says, hey, everything's okay. It's all better, right? Everything's good now. So yeah, there's every reason to kind of like fake it, right? Fake that everything's fine. I still think everything's fucked, but That doesn't mean that we can't be like okay for now, right? Like I'm not saying you're going to lose your bags tomorrow. I'm not saying Bitcoin's going to crash or that it's like the bear market. It's kind of upon us, but it's not really a bear market so much as it is a macro event, a macro problem. But these are long time frames, guys. Like there's no reason that things can't continue to go up for a little bit. So we're going to try and stay on the right side of the market. And right now, the right side of the market seems that altcoins are going to get some sunshine here. This chart, you would say, hey, maybe this thing wants to come down here, right? Maybe it wants to explore the bottom part of its range. Let's go to the weekly. There's no reason why this thing can't go and explore the bottom part of its range and still like kind of be like this, right? Still kind of do that. But again, so this is actually a good example of why I say, hey, Bitcoin is kind of at this resistance point, right? Bitcoin is, so look at these upper standard deviation bands, right? The blue bands here. And yes, we got above those bands, right? But we got above those bands and now things are pulling back. And I think the more likely scenarios for things to kind of explore this bottom range. Now, maybe it does want to ultimately, send Bitcoin to new heights of dominance. Maybe, right? There's a lot of shit coins and a lot of shit needs to die off. But at the same time, like contracts are a big thing and real financial products are being built out there, and Bitcoin doesn't do any of that. And there is going to be financial, like big FI demand for some of those products. And there already is, right? There's like gold tokens, and probably at some point we're going to see some stock tokens, and there's already equity tokens. People do launch equity tokens now, and with the SEC walking all that back, like, hey, we're probably not going to attack people for equity tokens nearly as much, right? There's every reason to think that contracts are going to stay in demand and be a big demand. And it's not just going to be for memes and bullshit like Solana, but although that's going to stay there too. The point is that it's difficult to think that Bitcoin is going to 90% dominance. It's difficult to think that Bitcoin is, maybe it can like fake out spike here like it did before, but I still don't think that kind of spike is in the cards. Anyways, so probably we've got some alt season. If you got some altcoins, I guess you can have a smile on your face. Which altcoins? I don't know, bro. Whichever ones you feel like. Whichever big ones, right? Do the big ones and do it bigly. Okay, so that's dominance. That's Bitcoin. Ethereum looks like it's trying to make a little comeback. Oh my God, look, Ethereum is. So actually, that's still technically kind of a higher low from the last bear market, right? So that's quite the sell-off. That's actually pretty incredible that ETH sold off that much relative to Bitcoin. I don't know what to say, guys. Maybe I could speculate. I still haven't fully formed my thoughts here on how all that happened, but it could just be. There could be a factor of just fuckery in there, right? This thing could come back up to the top side here. This is like, even from wave magic terms, this is an incredible sell-off to go up here, all the way down to here, and then crash even further. Like that's something is going on with this chart that is more than meets the eye. And it's not just Ethereum's a shitcoin and it's proof of stake and they're stealing all the rewards. Like that's not what's happening. Stop it. Don't say things if you don't understand like what's going on, at least not confidently, and at least not in that voice. Say, I suspect this. Maybe this could be happening. Well, I think that could be a factor. And then allow someone to correct you. Like, no, actually, the proof of stake, the way they did it is actually provably fair. It's robustly fair. If you have X% of the supply or of the stake, you can expect to get X% of the rewards over long periods of time. You can do the math modeling on it, or you can do the simulations. I'm not trying to say that ETH is the holy grail of, coins and all that. It's still surveillance and all that stuff. But anyways, I'm just trying to say like something is going on with this chart that's interesting. This is not normal price action. This is a massive sell-off, and it's not just proof of stake that is the reason for this. Something else is behind this chart and that sell-off. Anyways, I don't know exactly what it is. I haven't formed my thoughts on it. I'll have to think about it some more. If you have some good ideas and not retard voice ideas, then please, shout at me and propose them. Hey, I think we have some. I think we have a super chat here. I think we actually missed it. From Kev, Mr. Tuxedo. Here we go. Kev tip 25 cents. He says there are 4 to 5 BTC being swapped to Monero daily on RetoSwap. So price may be affected due to DEX volume activity. That's a really good. God damn it! I need to launch a RetoSwap. I just don't trade out of Monero, so I haven't needed it. The Monero that I need to trade out of, I have it on Cake Wallet, and I just spend out of there. But 4 to 5 BTC a day. That's $500,000 a day going into Monero liquidity, right? So it's probably our same bro. It's probably that bro. I don't know if we should call him bro. He's probably a piece of shit heister, but it's probably that same guy, right? Like trying to slowly swap whatever liquidity you can find on RetoSwap since it's decentralized. Interesting. Any Monero holders
really,
out there?
Really cool to like. Yeah, I mean, that'd be interesting
to BTC
to know.
Yeah. That have fun explaining that one to to the government. Oh, no, I promise. There's this decentralized swap called RotoSwap, and keep your records. If that's you, right? If you're swapping Monero into Bitcoin right now, and you're doing it on a decentralized swap service, keep your fucking records, because that could save your ass, right? Like, you don't know if the government's going to come after you for and accuse you of that heist. Keep your records. You that might be the only thing that saves you in the end.
I mean, this is why in general I fuck with Bitcoin as like little as possible, because it really is just a future liability. Like just using it, having it. If it's ironically, you're safer if you got it from a KYC like institution or exchange than if you got it on some swap service. Usually this is swap services. Most of them, they have the email checks and stuff, but just due to the nature of Bitcoin, it's like in some cases, depending on what your threat model is, you might be better off like just if you use Bitcoin, only having KYC Bitcoin, because if not, then it's a future liability that you might get some Bitcoin that, and like ended up, from that hack, and then it gets traced to you potentially. Even the other way around, even using Bitcoin as KYC potentially, like depending on where it goes, what happens to it, could also come back to bite you in the future. But at least you can more easily prove that you got rid of it or you used it or whatever.
Yeah. Francis makes a good point there. About you're safer with KYC Bitcoin, and if you stop and think about it, that's probably the point, right? There's probably a signal in that. Hey, you're fine as long as you buy it through an exchange. Interesting how that seems to just happen to coincide with the exchange's best interest and financial interest as well. Yet we digress. Let's see. We had a comment on YouTube. Anderson, Mr. 1024 Anderson says that ETH likely dropped when the sex hack happened. When the CEO sent ETH to the wrong address. All right, I like that. That's actually, I need to look more into that. I hadn't really paid attention. I'm vaguely aware of that, but perhaps that was a big factor there. I don't know. All right, so going back, I guess that's let's talk about the Monero and the hash rate, obviously, because we had the launch. Hash rate is doing something like 4.5 gigas, trying to push on that 5 giga range. That's pretty cool, and continuing to rise. Hopefully, if we look at slightly longer time frames, you can see this chart is still setting higher lows and higher highs. So totally agree with Tux. Our hash rate is not beyond attack. That's like we need 10x the hash rate. We really do. Like 10x the hash rate makes it way harder to
10x it on
Monero.
P to pool.
On P to pool, yeah. Because like hypothetically, if some consortium of governments, like Doug was asking earlier, like what kind of attacks could they do against Monero? Like we're seeing it all right now. The one thing that they haven't done is to try and do a network. They do network disruptions. They've tried network disruptions, but not in the sense of mining disruptions. So like we could still be attacked hypothetically. Like we'd probably see it coming, maybe, but if you had a whole bunch of governments get together and sort of coordinate the usage of some supercomputers, maybe they could do it. Maybe they could hide it. It's like we're kind of on that edge, right? But if we 10x the hash power, it's going to be really, really, really hard for any government to actually organize to be able to really attack the Monero chain. It'll put it outside of their reach.
Are you suggesting Tari is an attempt for the CIA to co-opt Monero?
No, I can't. Not at all. If anything, it's the CIA hates Tari because it's increasing our hash rate, right? That's like probably one of the things they got in their back pocket. They're like, well, it's an extreme measure and it costs a lot of money, but if we really had to, we could just we could repeatedly 51% their chain and disrupt their network and cause people to lose confidence. Maybe. But if Tari's going to help us add hash rate, that is going to complement Monero, and we do need more hash rate. So, and like private contracts is a fucking thing. We need private contracts. There's cool stuff we can do. I don't want anyone to know how many dick butts I have. So, or how many Trump Melania coins, derivative products, obviously that I'm buying. All right. Anyways, let's cover the macro and then be done with it. Gold. Let's talk about gold. I gotta say, gold is starting to look a bit toppy here. So we've talked about this spot. Let's put the statistics summary. Yeah, so we've talked about this purple line here forever. If you guys have been watching the show since forever, probably most of you have. You know that this purple line was kind of like, hey, that is the headliner spot to reallocate your gold to something else. I still don't know what the fuck else I want to reallocate it to. I guess Monero, but I mean, I don't like being overweight. I don't like being overweight. So yeah, I probably will just hang on to gold for a little bit more and then see what I want to do with it. I would like more clear resolution on whether or not they're going to lower rates or start expanding the balance sheet or do other stuff. I would like to see liquidity expansion before moving gold into risk. Otherwise, it's like it's just too risky for me, and I might as well just hold gold. Maybe gold is about to break all my models, bro. Could be. But anyways, this is starting to look a little bit toppy on the daily time frame here. So yeah, I mean, like we've talked about, gold goes to like these headliner points, and then it sort of like just kind of, it'll often just like go sideways and then bleed out a little bit while they pump the rest of the stock market. I don't think the stock market's ready for new all-time highs, but yeah, I don't know what to think about this chart right now. Maybe it's consolidating at the top here. We could still like in historical context, we could still like come up here to the 3,700 area. Like that wouldn't really invalidate my line here, right? This isn't a line like the regression analysis boundary price of Bitcoin. This is more like it's a different metric. But historically, like we could see gold continue to make another all-time high here, but it's really starting to look like this chart is probably running out of steam unless there's a fundamental event going on in the background, in which case, again, massive changes in fundamental events tend to reorganize your statistics, right? But we have had a number of sort of reorganizational fundamental events happen, over the course of 30, 40 years. So, and these lines are defined by those actions. So perhaps, these lines are still valid. So it'd be a really extra super duper fundamental event for that line to get invalidated, but maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. Okay. Reverse repos looks like they've kind of found their happy zone. They're just kind of like chilling out here at the 140 billion. That really, we would say between like 50 billion and I don't know, like a couple $100 billion. At this point, I'm starting to feel like the signal that this chart had for us is kind of dissolving into the ether. I'm not totally convinced that this chart is, yes, violent movements in this chart, long-term trends that develop in this chart can be useful for us. But at the moment, I'm not really sure that this chart moving up or down or one way or another actually helps us that much. It's a note, right? Again, it's a note that we say, is money moving into or out of risk? Is it scared or is it optimistic? Right now, you would say it's neither. It's just kind of treading water here. Let's take a look at oil. Oil's still in our danger zone. It looks like we had OPEC or something was like, we're going to quadruple our production of oil. So that's probably why it's still hanging out down here. I still tend to think this is probably kind of a long-term attempt at I don't know, Russia, maybe trying to get Russia concessions from them. Low oil prices hurt Russia more than they hurt the United States. In a lot of ways, it helps us in the West because we get cheap energy prices for doing stuff, and everything that we do requires energy, like AI, for example, burning down forests just to figure out what kind of toothpaste to buy that doesn't have fluoride in it or whatever. Okay, that's enough macro there. Stock markets. Yeah, so we said stock markets maybe, need a little bit of a pause here. Maybe need a little pullback to this area. That's what we got. And then they quickly rebounded. So yeah, stock markets could definitely be poised here, set up in the coming, let's just say 2 to 3 weeks to actually make it towards these standard deviation levels. I would kind of be surprised if we got all the way up here. This is really more of a solid point, but you just got to wait and see how do things develop. How did the resolution of the trade war, right? So apparently now, so there was this big announcement. Trump loves to do, he loves to take the playbook of the crypto announcement of the announcement. And so he announced an announcement last week for this week that just happened where we apparently made the greatest deal, the best ever with UK, the United Kingdom, that we had almost no tariffs with anyways. It's supposed to be like our closest ally. And so we made a deal with them, I guess. And it was amazing. And then more deals to follow. So the stock market, I guess, is like, yay, more deals to follow? ? Anyways, so right now things still recovering. It's not quite no man's land. You could still get long here and hope for the best. Probably expect again to make it up to like again S&P 500 to like 59, and then Nasdaq. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq. Probably Nasdaq to like 20,700, right? Let's take a look at Nvidia. Oh, Nvidia's recovering as well, right? Everyone be happy about Nvidia. Yeah, Nvidia is not a bubble. Ever since I said that, I marked the line vertically here. I said Nvidia is not a bubble. So we went up, we went down, we went up, went it down, and so like it's been, how long ago was that? That was a year ago. That was almost a year ago that I said Nvidia is not a bubble. And so it's basically holding its own because it's not, because we have AI, people love AI, and they do all kinds of things with AI, mostly memes and other unfortunate things, but also code, vibe coding. Okay. Let's go to the treasuries. Treasuries, so the yield curve continues to uninvert. This is still well within the patterns of macro crash fundamental events that have happened, that have come before it. The lead up into the big sickness of the economy of 2020. This pattern is very similar. Like we actually, like the more that I've been looking at this chart, the more I'm realizing, hey, the normalization of the yield curve somewhat, this one wasn't quite as much, right? We barely tagged negative and then started coming up. But you'll notice the long end of the curve came up while the short end of the curve kind of just like hugged the Federal Reserve rates. And that's kind of what we've got here, right? We've seen the short end of the curve actually still going down a little bit, but the long end has maintained a little bit higher levels, has come up. And that has some reminiscence to also the 2008 crisis, right? So in this case, we saw rates kind of coming down. The shorter end of the curve was coming down, and then it kind of like held its own here for early in 2008. So effectively, look at the date down here at the bottom, right? So we're looking at early 2008 right here, which is kind of like sort of ish where we are in the cycle right now. But again, you'll notice that the long end of the curve sort of held its own for a period of time, while the short end kind of like wasn't sure what to do and then ultimately crashed. So yeah, the pattern is still playing out again, just as before, right? It's happening again. Where's the .com? How did I miss the .com? It's over here. .com was maybe slightly different, but not entirely, right? You can see again, the long end of the curve tends to hold up as the short end of the curve goes down. So again, the point is, I'm just kind of showing you, hey, when it comes to the bonds, when it comes to like this signal, it's a very, very long-term, slow-moving signal. It moves slower than lava. It's like molasses. Eventually, the upside down jar or ketchup, right? It's moving like ketchup. It doesn't move and then suddenly it will, right? You're expecting to get some ketchup and then nothing comes out. And then finally the whole jar just like falls onto your fries. And the restaurant is angry at you for wasting their
I like
supplies.
this analogy.
Yeah, it's the most autistic analogy I could come up with in the spot. So yeah, that's bonds. The pattern's continuing to play out as before. So we didn't get any new macro numbers, but Jay Powell did get on the horn this past week. Oops. Yeah, he came on and they said, well, he said, we're not going to change rates. What else did he say? He was basically said, we're in a slightly restrictive policy moment. We're not going to change anything on the anticipation of what Trump tariffs might do. We're going to wait for the data. He's so data driven, that Jay Powell. Oh my God, just hand over my heart. I just can't believe it's so good to see someone that's finally data driven. Yeah. So basically, saying, hey, we've kind of got inflation risks now, but also the unemployment could be rising. I wonder if that has anything to do with tariffs. Effectively, he promises they're going to rescue the economy if anything bad happens, and they're slightly restrictive. So they've got firepower. They have tools. His tool belt has tools so they can rescue the economy, but they ain't doing shit right now. So, everything's probably fine for the moment. We'll try and see if we can find signals. If I can find signals for you guys when we can expect a reversal, because this shit ain't over, guys. There's going to have to be another scare. There's going to be another macro crash scare to the bottom, even if we don't actually crash. I mean, we should crash. The patterns will say we're going to eventually crash, but at a minimum, like, this isn't over. Things are not done being scared yet. It's just currently in the rebound phase. We're still in the rebound phase, not as violently as we had for the past few weeks, but probably still expect stocks to come up a little bit. I don't expect Bitcoin to go too much higher. It needs to cool off, but you could get into some altcoins. That's probably your opportunity here to catch some of those altcoins, or maybe sell those positions that you didn't sell previously, because this is not the real alt run. This is not real alt season. This is just, again, alt episode. So that's it. That's the price report today. Do we have any more? Let's see. I think we do have some comments. Some super chats. Mr. Wonderland tipped 25 cents. He says, for everyone who wants to start mining without much hassle, look at goopax.io. It makes mining on P2Pool extremely easy. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about goopax. So what do you think about that one, Tux?
I like it. It's pretty good and user-friendly.
Excellent.
Yeah, the goopax kind of reminds me of Tari, like the way they have made it so easy to mine, kind of plug and play miner, just spark it up. So it works very nice. So easy, even I can do it.
Let's see. We have a YouTube comment here. Roy asks, "Hey, Bobby, what do you think about derivative DEX like Antarctic and Hyperliquid exchanges? Are they really better than SEX?" I can't comment on Antarctic or Hyperliquid, although Hyperliquid, I feel like that's been around for a while. Yeah, so it is kind of cool to see that there are trading platforms starting to pop up on these layer 2s, which are kind of like this sort of middle ground gray area between decentralized and not decentralized. Like they have admin keys, but if they invoke them, like there's still delays. They can't just like steal your funds, bro. There's these bridges which aren't like totally decentralized either and used to get pwned, but they haven't been getting pwned for like the last few years. Anyways, so you got these layer 2s like on Ethereum. I don't know where Hyperliquid runs, but they're like they're running these like derivatives contracts now. So you can actually like submit a contract where someone's got an echo. I don't know who's got their mic unmuted, but if you could, just a little bit of echo on my voice there. Thank you. Okay, so you have the situation where, yes, you can get onto some layer 2 on Ethereum or like maybe Sol or Binance Chain or whatever, and they've got like these derivatives based, and then they have oracles like Link pumping price feeds into the chain, which they have previously shown that in the most severe circumstances, they will fuck around with them a little bit, but in reasonably steady state times, they don't fuck around with them. The price feeds are actually pretty good. So there is some risk, but it's like you have less risk than a SEX. However, you're paying for that. You're going to pay for it in fees because they have to make sure that they get paid at the end, right? And whereas an exchange can sort of pivot and say, all right, let's change our fees here and change our structure there and do this and that. This shit's operating contractually on the basis of on some chain, right? And so when you're trading these derivatives, you're actually submitting a transaction that has all of the conditions. You're submitting your liquidity, and you're submitting this contract that ends up plugging into the Oracle price feeds with this an agreement about how you're going to like pay your fees, like your opening fee and your closing fee and your borrowing fee and all these other like little fees. They just knit you to death on all the fees because they got to make money, and they don't want to lose. So they are very interesting to me. I'm not totally sure that they're not like that. Excuse me, that the way the fee structure is on these doesn't make it very difficult to make money trading. It's already hard enough to make money trading, right? Much less if you're going to get if they're just going to fee you to death. So the point is, devil's in the details. Look at the platform, look at the fees, do the math, right? Get on their platform and add up all the freaking fees that they're going to charge you, and then know exactly, okay, you're taking how much leverage and what's the volatility of the thing that you're buying, because sometimes they increase the fees basis on volatility. What's the opening fee? What's the borrowing fee? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And add all of that up, put it into a spreadsheet, and figure out how much you're actually paying in fees, because that's most likely, even if you are a good trader, that's where you're going to lose, is on those fees. So that's my rant on decentralized derivative DEXs, Roy. All right, let's see here. Any other comments? No, I don't think I see anything. Just just some smoking and joking. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today.
Thank you so much, Body. Sorry, I put my headset back on. There we go.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Tux.
Thank you for doing the price report as always. There we go. That's probably talking about my mic. Thank you for doing the price report as always. Very interesting week. Finally, it's been like last 2 years boring, and then recently at the end of last year it finally started getting interesting again. So
yep,
for Monero at least.
Yeah, right. We had to be very patient. Zen True. Master.
And I'm still fairly new. Like a lot of you guys have been like, this is well deserved for you because you've been around for a long time, and you've probably just
don't
been waiting. You've been through some serious dark weather. Some dark times, but you've come out.
It's been an amazing opportunity to accumulate, right? So, anybody that was there, I wasn't there super early in Bitcoin, but, I was there for a period where you were able to accumulate at a like a couple $100. With Monero, you've had literally years to accumulate at a very stable, relatively low price. So it's been an amazing opportunity for people.
Real OGs accumulate tops.
Dude, that was me when I first got into it. It was like a local top. I started buying Monero when it was around 300, and it only went downhill from there.
I mean, yeah, the first, so that was kind of like my experience with Bitcoin. I bought my first Bitcoin. It was like $800. It had just topped at 1,300. I bought it at 8 and then, watched it go all the way down to like $150 with the Mt. Gox and whatnot. So it was much like kind of the period of Monero, I'd say, for the last, 2 years.
What's funny about Bitcoin is that, like, if you're like, I got in 2013, then that could have actually been like really difficult, and you might have nothing left because you might have panic sold.
Right.
But if you got into Bitcoin 2 years later, it's like that was a golden spot, 2015, 2016. And even though you got in later, like, you don't have as much bragging rights, but
yeah,
like
I got in right after the 2013 peak. I bought like my, it was on its way down. Yeah. Bought it at 800, then got the bug. I was like, wow, this stuff is amazing. I didn't have a lot of money at the time, really not nearly as enough as I wish I had.
And then you had a lot less in the short future thereafter.
Yeah, I was living paycheck to paycheck and just trying to, grab a little Bitcoin when I could. I mean, I had the bug, right? I was a Bitcoin maxi, and when Mt. Gox happened, it was like a gift. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I never thought it would go back down this far. I was already like fully sold at that point. So I just saw it as a great opportunity, and it's felt the same way with Monero, being that it's been this suppressed for so long, yet adoption is simultaneously clearly growing.
It's funny, man. It's compare us to Litecoin. It's crazy how good our price is doing compared to Litecoin. Like, I know, like, you don't want to compare yourself too much, but just the price versus like Litecoin price is just like not doing anything nearly as good as what Monero price is doing. And they've got everything going for them.
But overall, they're higher market cap.
Are they? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, we're creeping up on them though. All right, let's keep it moving. I've had Crypto Comic-Con waiting because I told them I wanted to get them up sooner than this, and I apologize. But yeah, let's get them up because I'm gonna have to be mobile soon. Actually, let me just bring this up really quick. Tari, here's the buddy. Here's the Tari ad. Looks like, so effectively somebody's selling it for 85 cents for 100 XTM, or which is currently 0.003 XMR, gets you 100 XTM. And it looks like somebody's already reviewed. Somebody's already made a purchase. Very quick and easy. Great way to do my first Tari transaction. So here you go, guys. Here's a way to get Tari peer-to-peer with Monero on XMR Bazaar.
Nice.
Super cool. I might have to do the same considering I only have 0.69 Tari. I gotta get a little something. If we're gonna be out here pumping Tari, we better have some, right?
I mean, if you want to be a Tari whale, that's the only way. You're gonna have to. You can't mine fast enough. It's the people's mining algorithm, so you're gonna have to either make yourself an ASIC, call up Jihan, or buy it off of someone. Accumulate,
or be part of that 30% pre-mine. A little too late for that though.
Yeah.
Like, how much Tari is Paris Hilton sitting on? I think is she gonna like? Is she dedicated, or is she gonna sell? Is she gonna sell her bags? I mean, her bags are locked up, I think, for a year at this point.
In terms of price, centrally held coins have mega pumps. That's just kind of how that works out. They get these mega pumps, but it's hard to sustain them because greed takes over, and then you kind of take the elevator, or you take the stairs down typically.
I mean, Tari's been in development for so long. Most of these investors probably forgot they even had it. Like they moved on. Paris is like, what? Keys. What the fuck is Tari? What are you talking about? She's like, oh, I own that.
It's like Forrest Gump. She's like, well, I invested in some fruit company.
Yeah, she's gonna be worth billions off of Tari. Holy shit.